Hey everybody, welcome to this morning's Den Talk. Taking the dog for a walk. So today we're going to be talking about, what are we talking about today, Michelle?
We're going to talk about why you would want your pond cleaned before the season starts, the hot season starts, the warm season.
Whoa, and we're out walking our dog this morning, and Max.
He's so excited.
There, he said hello. Okay, so here we go. We're going to give you 5 reasons to do this. Okay, so reason number 1, I'm going to go first. Can I go first?
Yeah.
Okay, we're in Southern California. Southern California is a little bit different than other regions of the United States. In Southern California, we have a little bit of a weird spring wake up every year. Every year, the ponds are going to wake up, and I call it waking up because water temperatures really determine everything. Ponds are going to wake up in Southern California right around Valentine's Day, between February 14th and the 1st of March. What we want to do is we want to make sure that when the pond wakes up, it doesn't have leftover nutrients from last year to feed off of. Those leftover nutrients, what they do is they cause algae blooms. So Michelle, when we go in and we clean a pond, what's the number one thing that you've been doing this for a long time with me? What's the number one thing that you think that we're going after in a clean out?
The fish poopy.
Right?
Ugh,
Yeah.
So gross.
So fish poopy, we're gonna call that sludge. And the idea behind the sludge, good morning. So is mine. No, hey.
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 Come on.
My dog's saying hi to the other dog. No, Max.
Stop it.
Good grief.
He's not very well behaved.
No, he's not. Okay, so the idea behind the fish sludge is this. The fish sludge feeds, it's a food source for algae. And we want to eliminate the food source. By eliminating the food source, you don't allow algae to survive. Number 2, decomposing organic matter. So we got decomposing organic matter. Michelle, what would that look like?
Oh, any leaves or anything that ended up in your pond over the winter.
So decomposing organic matter, as decomposes, produces carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is also a food source for algae, string algae in particular. So what we want to do is we want to eliminate decomposing organic matter from the ponds. So number 3, why do we power wash from the water line up and not the water line down? Do you know, Michelle?
Because the good bacteria, you don't want to take that out of the pond.
Excellent. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to remove the good bacteria from the pond. If you power wash from the water line down, power washing from the water line down strips the pond of the good bacteria colony that's in there. What we really want to do is we want to give an aggressive rinse and remove as much sludge as we possibly can. What about filter pads and things like that, Michelle?
Well, they at least need to be cleaned, if not replaced.
So here's the thing about replacing filter pads. A lot of people don't understand that filter pads need to be replaced periodically because they shrink over time. Max is agreeing with us this morning. So filter pads do shrink over time. And you'll know that the filter pad is shrinking when, look at what he did.
Get over here.
See, that's a determined dog. So you'll know your filter pads have shrunk when you see the majority of the water flowing around the pad instead of through the pad. So if you have biofalls, it's really a good idea to replace those filter pads periodically. What about pump maintenance, Michelle? Did you know that certain pumps require an oil change?
No, I did not know that.
Okay, well that's the truth. If you have a direct drive pump, and you'll know because right on the side of it it's not going to be a plastic pump like an Aqua Surge. It'll be more like a Surumi or another Vanks style pump, where it's a vertical discharge or horizontal with a heavy discharge. Those types of pumps, they have a little screw port on the side of them for you to open up, drain out the oil, and replace it. So you want to have a professional pond contractor, when they take those pumps out and service them every year, replace the oil. The oil inside those pumps, running 24/7, 365 days a year, does break down in viscosity. And if you want to prolong the life of a $700 or $800 pump, you need to change the oil every year. What else, Michelle? Ooh, fish health.
Okay, but fish health, but look at that sunrise.
Oh wow, here we go. Camera's not picking it up very nicely.
Oh, so pretty.
All right. Okay, let's talk about fish health. I know you love your fish, Michelle.
Okay, what about it? So if there's too much sludge in there and it overtakes in the pond in the form of algae, it takes out the oxygen in your pond, and then your fish can get sick.
How about Aeromonas and Pseudomonas?
Yeah, even in a clear pond, you can end up with Aeromonas and Pseudomonas if you're not careful. And so we always have to be really careful, because with Aeromonas and Pseudomonas, the fish will end up with ulcers.
Okay, and those ulcers compounded with poor water quality in the weakest time of year when the fish have a very weak immune system. Getting your fish out, inspecting them, and cleaning and removing the sludge helps you fight against Aeromonas and Pseudomonas. Aeromonas and Pseudomonas outbreaks will give you ulcers in your fish, and I've seen it wipe out entire fish populations. Did you know that when the water temperatures get cold, even here in California during the winter time, your fish, they have a very weak immune system. So let's see, we talked about fish health, filtration, pumps.
Aesthetics.
Oh yeah, no brainer.
I know.
We clean around 60, 70 ponds every year, which isn't much compared to some larger contractors, but we're also primarily a construction company, so to clean that many and build as many ponds as we do every year, it's a pretty big deal. Aesthetically pleasing, you know, if you start your pond off clean this time of the year in the early spring, your pond is just going to sparkle and shine throughout the year. Now, I know that there are people that are, you know, like anti-cleanout, and you might have a concrete pond, or you might have an underwater suction grid. I'm going to switch sides with you, Michelle. My arm's hurting. Wow, when I switched hands, my phone cut out. Okay, so let's talk about the people that have formal ponds. There's definitely a place for you for spring maintenance as well. Michelle, did you know that UV bulbs need to be replaced annually?
I did not know that.
So just because it's glowing doesn't necessarily mean that it's emitting the right amount of microwatts of killing power to kill off phytoplankton algae. Phytoplankton algae, that's the stuff that makes your pond turn green. Look at this, dog saying hi. The other thing you want to do is if you have external pumps, you want to replace the O-rings on your primer pots, and you know, the really big O-ring that goes around the lid that you open and close a couple times a week or whatever, as well as the O-rings that seal between the half unions between the pump and those primer pots. Another really good practice is, let's say that you have an external bead filter, open up the lid and power wash off the inside of where the strainer basket is underneath the underneath your bead filter, and you might want to take a piece of 2-inch PVC and gently agitate the media inside your bead filter, just to kind of break up some of the stuff that hasn't been getting broken up throughout the year of prior backwashes. Another thing you might want to consider doing if you have a formal pond is you also might want to consider you know, just simply doing another once over on all the other equipment that you might have as well, things like sieves and so on and so forth. So that's all important stuff.
So that's a lot of information, so we should wrap it up. Tell them about the pond special, the pond clean out special you have.
Ooh, you know, before I talk about that, all right, I'm going to talk to you guys about that, but real quick, I'm a huge supporter of annual maintenance on your pond. And if you are local to us here in Southern California, you want to hire us, because we're really good at what we do. We're fish health experts, we're pond health experts, and we know what we're doing. But if you're not in our local area, you need to hook up with a local contractor. Wouldn't you agree, Michelle?
Yes. Come on.
How many people do you know that have wiped out their entire fish load just by trying to do a clean out themselves?
Too many over the years.
Do you remember what the number one common denominator is?
don't they forget to detoxify at the
Yes.
end?
Yes, it is.
That's such an expensive mistake.
It is. You know, here's the thing. A lot of water companies use this treatment called chloramine, right?
Yeah.
Chloramine. So chloramine, it's a molecular bond of chlorine and ammonia, and it kind of, and when you use a pond detoxifier and you detoxify against chlorine and chloramine, what happens is the molecular bond between the chlorine and the chloramine, when the molecular bond between the ammonia and the chlorine, which makes up chloramine, it breaks, and you're left with high ammonia levels, and those high ammonia levels post clean out wipe out entire fish populations.
Anyways, that's a whole lot of information, Carl. So we
This is
can take
twice
care
now.
of all of that for you with a discount if you pay up front. And so if you want, you can call us at 888-713-7771 and we'll be able to tell you when and how much.
Okay, at the bottom of this video here in the description, I'm going to give you a link to be able to register for your spring clean out. And all you have to do is just fill out the form, send us an email, and within a day or two we'll respond back to you and we'll confirm your appointment, or we'll reschedule it for a time that meets up with our schedule as well. So if you're new to Columbia Water Gardens, if this is the first time you're seeing this video, comment down below. I respond to 100% of my comments on my channel at this time, and please subscribe. You'll get daily 10 talks like this one here with Michelle and I, or you'll also get to see project updates, tips, all that other fun stuff. So Michelle,
Say goodbye to Max.
say goodbye to
And
Max.
We'll see you tomorrow. Max!
Say goodbye.
Say goodbye! Max, Boo, say goodbye!
I'm Carl with
He's
Columbia
hammered
Water
her.
Gardens, and I'm here to remind you that cleaning your pond annually matters. Happy ponding.